If you are a 3D artist who loves painting and colors, you're likely enjoying texturing. However, before texturing any object, there's a step that can be difficult, time-consuming, and annoying, sometimes downright frustrating.
Oh shit, here we go again.
The same applies to texturing characters. Before you can texture them, you need to unwrap their UVs. In this video, I'll walk you through my personal workflow for UV unwrapping a character. This isn't the only way or the best way to do it, but it's one effective method I personally find useful. This video isn't a step-by-step tutorial, instead it's a time-lapse with commentary where I'll share some useful tips and insights I've learned over the years while creating 3D characters for video games. I'll also cover some general best practices for UV unwrapping. Different categories of models like characters, vehicles, hard surface objects, props, and clothing often require different workflows. Once you know what type of model you are working on, there are few key considerations to address before unwrapping UVs. Let's break them down. First, UV workflow types. There are two main UV workflows: texture sets and UDIMs. In texture sets, all UVs will fit within the 0 to 1 UV space. UV islands can share a single material or have separate materials. This was the legacy method for texturing in Substance Painter, but newer versions support the UDIM workflows. The second method is using UDIMs. This workflow uses a single texture set with multiple UV tiles. Starting from tile 1001, you can arrange UV islands across these tiles, either vertically or horizontally. This method is gaining popularity as game engines and tools like Marmoset Toolbag now support UV workflows. Second is texture size. While you don't need to finalize this at the start, it is helpful to have an output target in mind. This will guide your decisions on margin values, dithering, and texel density. Third is texel density. Most models should have a unified texel density. Texel density refers to the ratio of texture resolution to UV space. If one UV island is significantly larger than others, it will consume more texture data, resulting in higher resolution for that island. For characters, I often allocate more texel density to head, face, and eyes, areas that require sharper details for rendering. Fourth is flips and overlaps. In some cases, you might intentionally overlap or flip UV islands. However, overlapping UVs can cause dark or black artifacts during texture baking. Unless overlapping is necessary, it is best to keep UV islands properly separated. Fifth is stretching. For hard surface model, minimizing UV stretch is relatively straightforward. While minor stretching isn't a huge issue with modern 3D texturing tools, extreme stretching can cause problems. Characters often have stretching in areas like face, hands, or legs, but this is less of an issue thanks to the advanced texturing softwares. Sixth is seams. Seam placement is very critical. Place seams in areas where they are less likely to be visible, as visible seams can create normal artifacts in some rendering engines. One of my personal frustration is using the blur filter in Substance Painter, which can make seams more noticeable due to the lack of 3D blurring filter. Seventh is maximizing UV space. Always aim to use as much as UV space as possible. Empty space wastes pixels that could otherwise enhance texture resolution or detail. While it's not always possible to fill every corner, manually adjusting UVs to occupy more space can worth the effort, especially for complex models like cars or aircraft. Given the importance and time-consuming nature of UV packing, there are many dedicated softwares and plugins for softwares like Blender, 3ds Max, Maya to streamline the process. These are some key considerations I kept in mind. If you have any more additional tips or insights, feel free to share them in the comments below. One final note, retopology and UV unwrapping isn't truly complete until you finalize your renders. I have often made last-minute adjustment to topology or UV to improve rendering results. I'd like to quickly explain why I choose to place a UV seam in the center of the face for the model that I am unwrapping the UV in the background. If you download any head mesh from online sources like Texturing XYZ or 3D Scan Store, you will notice that the head typically will have single UV layouts without cuts, stretched across the UV space. Most game or movie studios follow a similar workflow or use custom workflow tailored to their specific projects. I decided to add a seam in the middle of the face because this is a person project and I want to maximize UV spacing and texel density. Since I'll be texturing in Substance 3D Painter, I don't need to worry much about seam being visible unless I use filters like blur. Even then, there are ways to address visible seams caused by blur filters. The same logic applies to the hands and legs. In most base meshes available online, the fingers don't have separate UV islands. However, I choose to separate them to ensure proper stretching and to make most of the available UV space. With that said, I'll stop talking now and will catch up with you guys at the end of the video. So this is the final UV for the character that I made. I made some changes after the recording. So this is the UV that you guys see in the recording. So it has 5 UDIMs. In this UDIM, as you can see, this body, front and back side of the torso, this is the back side, and this is the front side. Both are in a different tiles, and there are a lot of empty spaces. I wanted to optimize this, and all I have to do is make a cut in the shoulder, and then I can move these hand UV shields down, and I can replace it here. So that's what I did here. So this UV is much cleaner. All I did is just a small cut on around the shoulders, and anyway this character is going to have a shirt on top of him, so the shoulder is not going to be visible one. And I'm going to use Substance Painter to paint everything in 3D. So even though there is a seam around the shoulders, as long as I'm going to paint it in 3D, I'm not going to have any issues. So in this UDIM, as you can see, it is well optimized. It occupied a lot of space, and it only took 4 UDIM tiles. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope it is helpful for you. This is not the perfect way. This is one of the way, as I mentioned earlier. So you can use this method, or you can create your own method and your own workflow to create UDIMs or to create UVs for your game characters. I'm going to close this video with this, guys. Hope you like it. If you enjoy this video and you learn something new, click on the like button and subscribe to my channel to watch all my future videos. Until next time, see you.